Hi, my name is Linda Chiodo. I'm going to talk to you today around my passion for leadership and human behaviour and leadership development. I got into learning about leaders and leadership development from a very young age when I became a manager back in the 80s, and was thrown into a position of leadership, not knowing anything about leadership or what I wanted to do. And when I entered the corporate environment, as a young working female, I got to see many examples of leadership and got to work with so many different people that I became instantly intrigued about behaviour and why we do what we do and how we do what we do every day and how we achieve success. I was very lucky in my past to have been recognised by people because I worked really hard, but I didn't really understand whether I had management or leadership skills until I got into the corporate world. And when I got into the corporate world, I learned a really big lesson, is that everyone's different and all leaders act differently. And there were some that you resonate with and some that you don't, and you don't really know why. So I decided to get into human resources because I wanted to understand, and I was intrigued by human behaviour and why we do what we do, and how we do it, and what do the successful people do, and how do we achieve success. I was ambitious, assuming a lot of people are ambitious, and I just went with the flow. I didn't really understand it. So I got into human resources to really focus on being more human. And if I'm really honest, what prompted me to truly get into human resources was because I didn't see a lot of the human element in our workplaces. Our workplaces back in the, I'm going to say 90s, was very command and control style. And I was wondering, where is the human element in the human resources job function and title? Because in the corporate world, you speak to a lot of different people, and I spoke to so many people who were performing their roles but weren't loving what they were doing, or they were doing their jobs because they were scared. Back in the 90s, it was a very command and control environment. And whilst it did achieve certain results, the human potential was not really tapped into, I believe, back in that time. So I embarked on the journey to start thinking about my own leadership first, and what did I want to grow into as a leader, and what examples did I have to follow? Because when you become a leader, even if it's just a title, and this is what I learned, didn't learn that you are a leader even without the title, but when I got the title of being a leader, I didn't really know who are my role models. And I learnt to see that there were very different ways of leading yourself and leading others. So I was very fortunate to have a leader. This is back in the head of customer relations globally for a company, and who was very much about making sure her team was a team that looked after one another. And that was really rare back in my growing up days, to be honest, in the corporate world. What I was faced with was a lot of people telling people what to do. And you came to work and you did what you were told to do because you were scared that you were either going to be fired, or that you weren't going to be promoted, or that you were going to get in trouble. There was this notion of, I'm a leader and I can tell you what to do and you'll just do it, which has its place for some environments, no doubt. But what I did see is that the leaders who looked at understanding the individuals on the team and looked at what those individuals needed to develop in themselves were the leaders who got the most out of me and out of others in the team. And that really intrigued me in terms of the different styles. So leadership development, as a topic in itself, is so big. And there are so many, it's a word that gets thrown around like it's nothing. You know, I'm in leadership, or this is leadership. There is so much that sits under the banner of leadership. And every single element that sits under that banner of leadership is a privilege to be able to master, if you want to say that. So then I started looking at, how do we master certain things in leadership? And what are the elements in leadership that can make a difference to your own day and the days of others? And when I started in leadership, I started looking at how people communicate. How is this person presenting themselves to others? And what do we need to do to be able to communicate in a way that people feel like they want to work for you? So I started looking at, like every other leader does, communication skills, you know, managing conflict, all these topics and titles that are in every corporate curriculum. As I moved more into leadership and understanding some of the latest science and research in leadership, what became really, really clear is we were ticking these topics off for people without truly understanding how people were applying them to themselves or to others. And did people really understand why conflict management or why communication, you know, was so important? We're just ticking it off, you know, particularly in corporates, we just tick it off. I've done a communication skills course, you know, I'm good with that. So if you're doing communication skills courses and conflict management courses, why is there still so much unrest in corporate teams? Why am I still being employed to do teamwork? Because people are, they're not given the time and the complete understanding of what really lies underneath. So some of these programs are really surface. They tick the things off the surface. So then I started looking at, well, what do we need? There's something around the way that we're made up. There's got to be more to it. And that's when I discovered, luckily enough, got into a development role and was able to tap into the forums and discovered how neuroscience, the impact neuroscience has on understanding leadership for yourself, you know, and for others. So that took me down a different path. And that's what I really am excited about, you know, talking to people today, is because I've been on a journey of leadership myself. Leadership has changed, but there is a fundamental science to our human makeup. And that science can take us to a whole new way of working and living, and a different way of thinking about the way we work and live and achieve and happiness. So that got me really, really excited. I won't lie, I had a baby. And when I saw the way that a little child's brain develops, I became instantly attracted to looking at how a child's brain is like a sponge, and how disappointing it is that as we get older, we lose the capacity to learn if we don't nurture that. And when I saw the images of a child's developing brain and how much it sparks like a pinball machine, that's also contributed to my passion for saying, well, we don't have to lose that. We actually don't have to lose developing our thinking and the way that we learn just because we get older. So being in an environment where I was dealing with lots of adults, I thought, right, you know, I need to go down the path and do some studies in neuroscience. And this exploration for me opened up a complete new way. It was like the biggest aha moment. What have we been missing out on all this time? There is so much knowledge around how we can lead ourselves, how we can think in a different way, how we can get results that are beyond our imagination by tapping into human potential. And how do we do that? We understand how humans operate. So understanding the basis of how humans operate, no brainer now, right? it's a no-brainer to kind of go, now of course it's going to help us understand how people lead and how they act and how they think. So doing the, I then did an advanced diploma of neuroscience in leadership, specifically in leadership, because it's my mission to help bring these insights to other leaders so that we can live much better leadership lives. You know, I think leadership has turned into, for many people, a chore. Oh, I don't want to manage people, I don't want to lead people. It's got a really bad name now, you know, it becomes, because it's a lot of responsibility. So discovering what we've got that we can tap into that we haven't from a leadership perspective is really going to help others start loving leadership again, for those who may have lost the idea about why lead. Why is it important to lead? The other element around leadership is, of course, if you're understanding human behavior, then you get to really understand your own behavior. And then that taps into a lot of the old work that, you know, Daniel Goleman brought to us around emotional intelligence. So if I understand my own self and what triggers me and what emotions I bring to my own leadership, then I can understand what impact I have on others. And that's a significant part of leadership. So understanding the neuroscience of leadership is a massive tick for me, and that's what I want to bring to people, and that's my mission, to continue to help people think about leadership in a new way, because the world has changed and we've all changed, and if we haven't, we need to start thinking about how we evolve so that we can continue to live really fulfilled lives, whether it's at work, at home, or otherwise. So that's kind of one of the things that I really want to make sure I bring along. I also embarked on doing Bob Proctor coaching, and it's opportune to be speaking to you about this week, because in the last week, you know, we lost Dr. Bob Proctor, and he passed away, and I think he was around 88 years old. And one of the things that attracted me to the Bob Proctor program is that neuroscience is not one dimension. It's not a one-dimension study. Neuroscience is the study of the way our structures are, our anatomical structures are. But what neuroscience does is it actually cherry picks from a bunch of other sciences, including psychology, including physiology, including maths, including computer studies, including human resources. So what was beautiful about embarking on a journey around and coaching others and coaching myself was that the insights that Bob Proctor brought to me, certainly, and to thousands of others, fit nicely with marrying with what the science is saying now. So we've had a lot of psychologists in the past and philosophers in the past share these amazing insights. We've now got science that is saying, hey, some of this information is well and truly validated through science. So for the first time ever, leaders who think leadership is soft, thinking empathy is a soft emotion, all these things that we call soft people skills, well, here's some news. Science is now saying it absolutely is validated in the way that we achieve success, the way that we achieve performance, the way that we achieve happiness. So that is the most exciting, one of the most exciting things to be able to bring to others. So that's what I want to do. I want to bring all this information to others. It's out there, but not out there enough. And that's what I'm hoping that I can do with some of the leaders today.